Hi everyone, and welcome to Parent Tip Tuesday. Today's parent tip is about cutting and using scissors with your preschooler. I'll also talk a little bit about gluing and how to try to rein the glue mess that's all over the paper in a little bit. But as far as cutting goes, I'd like to talk about good scissors hold and a way to help your child achieve that. What they need to do with that extra hand that's not holding the scissors, because that gets a little confusing for them. I have a great book to recommend about cutting and imperfection, which is a hard topic for some kids. And then also I have some ideas for you on different things that they can cut and different ways to use paper when they are cutting. So as I said, I'd like to begin by talking about their scissors hold. First, giving your child a pair of scissors can truly be terrifying. You have no way of knowing what's going to get cut to their hair, their clothes, your household things around. You just don't know. So a lot of us are hesitant to even give a child a pair of scissors to begin with. One of my all-time favorite preschool teaching memories is way back when, probably 15, 16 years ago now. A little boy came into the classroom, found the writing center, and there were scissors over there. The look on his face, he held them on, was scissors. He was so excited to have a pair of scissors in his hand. Probably used them at home as well, but just the thought of having that kind of power and control was very exciting to him. So if you want to supervise your kids, obviously that's a great idea. But while you're supervising them, you can also be helping them with their grip. I have a pair of scissors here, child scissors, and we all know that two holes, little one, big one, thumb goes in the little hole, two fingers go in the big hole. Well, you get so many kids that want to do it this way, they want to do it this way, they want to do it this way. They're not quite sure how to orient that hand. So what I like to say to them is two fingers on the bottom, thumb up on top, open the mouth, and chop, chop, chop. Now you can see on these scissors, I've actually drawn teeth with a Sharpie on both sides. That gives them the visual of the chop, chop, chop. So another thing you can do, and I had one on here, but he's wearing off, is you can draw a little smiley face on their thumb. So you can tell them the thumb goes in the little hole, he gets his own home, and he should be smiling at you from there. And then these two fingers support him. So that's one way to get them to do it with the thumbs up and the fingers in the replacement. But now, how do you get them to actually get that on the paper, turn the paper properly, and hold on tight so they don't slip while they're going? One thing you can do is call this hand, the extra hand, a steering wheel hand. That's what I like to call it. I give them the visual of you driving the car, and this hand has to control the steering wheel and tells you where you're going. This is the hand that's the car. This is the hand that's going. So they have their paper, they hold it with their steering wheel hand, then they take their car and they start cutting. Now, I have a piece of paper here with some lines on it. This one is going to require them to turn. This is something that you can offer them at home too. You can draw different lines, different shapes on paper, and they can cut them. This one's going to require them to turn. So when they're using their steering wheel hand, they start at the bottom, and a lot of them in the beginning are going to do this. And that's fine. That's the beginning of cutting. That's fantastic. So then you get them going, 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 but then they get to a corner, just like we do with our cars. And what do we do when we're driving? We turn the steering wheel, so we have to turn the car. Turn the steering wheel, now the car is turned, and it can keep chomping. Uh-oh, another corner. Turn your steering wheel and keep chomping along as you go up the paper. Now, another trick I like to use when I'm having them cut is putting stickers on the paper. This one just has straight lines, but I put two stickers at the top. So as they're cutting, they can stop, they can have some control and stop when they get to the sticker. Of course, it doesn't matter if they keep going, but it's also good for them to follow directions and, as I said, have some control so they can cut till when they get to the sticker. I showed you my paper with the zigzag lines. That's another one I like to use with kids. And here's another one, curvy lines. You can start with the straight lines, the zigzags, the curves, and work their way up. Those are all different methods to help them just learn how to steer, how to have that control. Now, I'm grabbing all of this. I just want to show you this. I have a scissors folder, and this is from the Target Dollar Spot. I believe it's still there. It was in a group of other folders, and it was just kind of in the middle. And I was so excited because I do like to keep these scraps in what more logical place to keep my scissors scraps than in a scissors folder. You could use a bin, whatever you'd like, but it is a great way to just hold on to these papers that you get when they're cutting. You cut one thing out of it. You're not going to get rid of the whole paper. Throw it in here. You have little pieces. Throw them in here. And the next time your child wants to cut something, make something, they can grab the scissors folder, get it out, and go to town. Now, another thing that is good for cutting besides paper are these paint samples. These are wonderful because it gives them the guided line right here in the middle. They can cut on the line. They don't have to, but they can cut on that line. And you can talk about shapes, you can talk about colors, all that. They're a little bit harder. They're a thicker paper, which is good for them, as opposed to some of this can actually be a little harder to cut, the thinner paper, because it's more flimsy. So a harder paper like this is good as they're practicing. So this is something that they can use to cut. Something else that's tough is pipe cleaner. If they're getting advanced and you really want to give them a challenge to build that fine motor, pull out some pipe cleaners, let them snip them. Straws, again, they could be a little flimsy, but if you have some plastic straws, you could try that. A great thing to help build their strength and practice cutting is Play-Doh. If you have Play-Doh, they do sell special plastic scissors for Play-Doh, but there is nothing wrong with using a regular old child pair of scissors as well. As I said, there is a story that I've discovered recently called Snippets. Read it to the kids in a video a few weeks ago. It just talks about how you get these random little cuts of paper, and they're not perfect squares, they're not perfect triangles, but they can still be used. So if you have a child that deals with struggling with perfection, this is a great story for that. But it's also just a great concept. What I've done is I took all my snippets and I put them in a plastic baggie, and then if I need a random size piece of paper, they're in my scissors folder in my snippet bag. So those are just a couple of things that you can have on hand to help your child improve their cutting. Now, cutting and gluing to me kind of go together, so I thought I'd include them today. Gluing can be a very simple task. A lot of kids are just going to come over, they're going to put their glue on, stick their object to it, and move on with life. Some other kids are going to come over, they're going to take the glue bottle, and they're going to cover their entire paper in glue, which obviously takes forever to dry, wastes the glue, creates a big mess. So a saying that I have for that is dot, dot, not a lot. You don't need a lot of glue, you just need a dot. And to practice that, you can give them a sheet like this. This is just black Sharpie on a piece of paper of different dot sizes. They can take their glue bottle and they can practice covering the dots. This one I gave them is nice and big because some kids want to put a lot of glue on there. So I gave them one that's nice and big. Then there's some really teeny tiny ones where they truly will just need a dot. But they could just have this as their glue practice paper where they come in and put their dots on. One final note, you may have noticed in you holding one of these little guys as opposed to a normal size bottle of glue, great for little hands. If you can find these, probably on Amazon, I recommend these. They are refillable, so if you have a child that does a lot of gluing, you want to use these for them, you'll fly through them a little bit faster, but just either buy one of those gallon jugs of glue to refill it or even a regular size bottle of glue and fill this up for their little hands. I hope these tips were helpful, and I will see you next time.